Hi, this is my live annotated bibliography for the fourth. This is on social development, tech and social development. I looked at two different articles today, of course. So the first of the articles um, was taking a look at whether people who take selfies are selfieists or are they narky selfiers, which is essentially looking at main parts of the study. Are narcissists taking selfies in order to reinforce their excessively positive self-images? Or is it that people who take selfies are somehow becoming more narcissistic, or the act of taking selfies makes you more narcissistic, which is actually a pretty big question that a lot of people are kind of thinking about, because they kind of think of people taking selfies. A lot of people like to sit in judgment, and so this is somewhere where um, people think, well, people who take selfies are a bunch of narcissists. And then perhaps also, of course, that it could make you more narcissistic. So the method of the study itself, what they did is they sent emails to about 9,000 people, and of those they received 1,200 respondents. And then from them they randomly picked 500 participants because that's what they wanted for their study. And then of those, they had 360 of them receive the second survey. So it's actually not a bad sample group. 360. Essentially, the study was they had two questionnaires 1 year apart. So the 500 participants received the first questionnaire, and then 360 received a second, or responded to a second. The quiz itself, or the survey itself, was divided into determining the different narcissistic tendencies and the levels, as well as the selfie use and so on through various social media, as you can see in the graphic that is there. The results, both hypotheses that they had were correct. The first was that posting selfies does increase narcissism. So they looked at an increase in narcissistic behaviors, which was related to the large amount of selfies being posted. As well, people who trended towards narcissism also seemed to be actually posting more selfies as well. My analysis of the study, there was a really good attempt to mitigate the mediating and moderating variables. The 9,000 emails, then from those randomly selecting 500 of the respondents, the sample is some pretty random. So this way you're ensuring that you have try to get a cross section of the population. Some problems, the data collection was only through self-reporting, so through things such as social desirability or mood and memory. I mean, you know that what people are looking for is not positive, so you don't want to look like that, especially if you're a narcissist. So that's one problem. They also only looked at traits of narcissism. So it could also be that by not looking at things like self-esteem or other aspects, that there's a bit of a moderating variable there. Also, it was a Chilean study, therefore only people who live in Chile. So most likely that doesn't change too much about generalization, but of course we do know there are cultural differences between countries. Other studies looking at similar topics examined how social media has a lot of what narcissists crave. The shallow relationships, the fact that you can get likes for things you put up there, plus self-promotion, and it even normalizes that behavior. So within your peer group, your generally narcissistic behavior is actually normalized. This ties in directly to what I'm looking at, as I want to look at how technology impacts teens. And so this is relevant because of the large amount of personal material and selfies that are done by teenagers throughout their lives. The second article that I was taking a look at is called Photoshopping the Selfie. Um, and examines the link between selfies and the overall body satisfaction in middle school girls. This is hypothesis number one, would be that engaging in selfie sharing on social media will lead to an increase in thin ideal internalization and self-objectification in girls. And hypothesis two was those who edit their photo posts before posting will have an even higher level of negative body image, um, just because they've put more work into ensuring their photo is good. The method that this study was, there was a series of surveys, questionnaires, and interviews. There are 101 grade 7 girls that from two different schools. Some really good parts are very clear ethical guidelines, which is a positive in that you're ensuring that you're more likely to get accurate information because everybody wants to be there. They did vary data collection methods through the interviews, surveys, and questionnaires. Therefore, that can validate your information as it's coming in. And the data was scored on a carefully predetermined scale as determined by psychologists and so forth to determine the validity of the data, which is also good. There was, however, a negative. The very clear ethical guidelines on the one hand is obviously a positive, but on the negative, it's not as good in that the only people participating are those whose parents think that it's a good idea for them to participate, and therefore may have a more may look at the idea of selfies and so forth and narcissism as being, or body image as being very important to them, and therefore that could skew the results as well. Another bigger negative is probably the fact that all their information is self-reporting of girls in grade 7. So while there's obviously a fair amount of maturity in there, they are still in grade 7 girls trying to wrestle with things such as why they're posting selfies and how they feel about different things. So that could affect things as far as giving moderating or moderating variable. There also is only a 101 participants. Therefore, you have an increase of moderating variables, such as just that inability to report unbiased, just level of maturity in grade 7. Of course, there's a wide range of levels of maturity, and it's very limited to generalize when there's only 101. There's far too many possibilities of geographic location, of socioeconomic status, and so forth. One of the schools was actually even an independent all-girl day school, which could affect that as well. So there are some criticisms of the methodology as well. But overall, I think obviously there is a study that has some validity to it. The results that they found both of their hypotheses were correct. There was a definite correlation between the increased photo sharing and an increased body dissatisfaction. Also, they found girls who self-edited also had a more negative sense of body dissatisfaction. So both of their findings is not altogether that surprising, but then having a study back up what is largely anecdotal, of course, is good. This does mirror other studies which found similar results with social media and its impact on people, but really did not narrow it down to selfies and image sharing. I would have just mentioned those before. So those are the two different articles. The last one also ties in with my research in that I'm looking again, teens and technology. And teens tend to do a lot of selfies, and sense of body image, of course, is very important in guys and girls, but I mean especially probably girls more than guys too. And that's it. Thanks for listening.